Welcome to Business English for Success. I am Emma.
And I am Thomas. Today, we are looking at how to communicate in multicultural workplaces.
A lot of people think clarity in international teams is just about the words you use.
But that is not always true, right? Sometimes it is more about how those words are received.
Exactly. Today, we are covering 3 common situations: starting a meeting, reading silence, and giving feedback.
If you have ever felt like your message did not land the way you wanted, this is for you. Let us start with how to kick off a meeting without being too stiff.
Thomas, I recall a project kickoff recently. We had a new team from several countries, some in the office, some joining remotely. I opened my laptop, shared the brief, and went straight into the objectives, the timeline, and the responsibilities. I thought I was being productive.
Wait, so you just started? No greeting?
None. I thought that was the right way to run a meeting. But by the end of the hour, 2 members hadn't said a word. They only answered when I asked them something directly. I know they had ideas, but they stayed quiet.
The meeting looked organized on paper, but the team wasn't actually with you.
Exactly. It made the project harder to get moving later.
I think that happens because in many cultures, people need a sense of who they are working with before they feel comfortable sharing ideas. If you don't build that, you are just talking at them.
So by jumping to the agenda, I was actually losing time.
Right. People spent the meeting thinking about who they were working with rather than focusing on the tasks.
It is not about filling time with chatter. It is about letting people know they are part of the team. Let me show you how I changed my approach.
Okay, let's see it.
Hi, everyone. Before we hit the agenda, let's take a minute since this is our first time working together. I would love to hear where you are joining from and one thing you want to get out of this project. I am Emma, based in London, and I am looking forward to seeing how different backgrounds shape our final result.
That is better. It is simple. You didn't force a fun introduction. You just gave them a clear reason to speak.
Right. And look at what happened next. Everyone spoke. Once they broke the ice, the rest of the meeting was totally different.
It works because you didn't ask, "How are you?" which is just polite filler. You gave them a specific task. Tell me where you are and what you want to achieve. That gives them something real to say.
And it helps me understand the team better before we start the actual work.
So the main point, don't be afraid to pause the agenda. If you start by giving everyone a voice, they are much more likely to keep using it when the real work begins.
But then comes the hard part. When you ask the first real question about the project and the room goes completely quiet.
That moment. Most people feel a bit unsure in that moment, but there is a way to handle it. Let us look at that next.
Thomas, let's talk about that moment after you present a new project plan. You finish, you feel good, and you ask, "Does anyone have any concerns?"
And then, nothing. Total silence.
Exactly. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it feels like a very long time. Most people feel a bit unsure in that moment and just fill that silence themselves. They say something like, "Okay, I guess we're all aligned," and just move on.
But you're saying that might not be the best approach?
Right. That silence isn't empty. In many international teams, being quiet after a question doesn't mean they agree. It often means they are thinking. They don't want to speak before they've really processed what you said.
So the silence is actually a sign of respect for the question?
That is it. When you rush to fill that gap, you shut them down. You end up with a decision that looks like agreement, but it's actually just a room full of people who haven't had the space to talk.
Okay, so how do you handle it without wasting time?
You don't fill it, you own it. Watch this.
So any thoughts on this direction? Any part that feels unclear? I'll give everyone a moment to think. Feel free to start with whatever part feels least clear to you. There's no pressure to have a final answer right now.
Actually, I'm wondering about the timeline on the second phase. It feels a bit tight with our other work.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. Does anyone else see it that way, or is there another part you want to think through together?
Maybe we could look at shifting the deadline.
Good. This is exactly the kind of input that helps us get this right before we commit. Let's spend a few minutes on this.
Notice what just happened? He didn't try to force a quick answer. He invited them to talk about what was unclear, not what was wrong.
Unclear feels much safer than concerns, doesn't it? Concern sounds like you're looking for problems. Unclear sounds like you are just trying to get it right.
And when that first person spoke up, he didn't just move on. He thanked them. That tells everyone else your input is welcome and you won't be interrupted.
So instead of asking, does anyone have concerns? You ask, where do we need more clarity? That simple switch changes how people participate.
But here is a challenge for everyone watching. What if you have a tight deadline? You need a decision today. How do you give people the space to think without letting the meeting go on too long?
That is the real balance. If you have an approach for this, tell us in the comments. We want to hear how you manage tight deadlines while still keeping the team on board.
Next, we have one more situation, one that requires a lot of care.
Giving feedback clearly and constructively. That's next.
Thomas, I want to start this one with a question. Have you ever given someone feedback that you thought was clear and fair, only to find that collaboration becomes less effective after that?
More than once. And for a long time, I could not figure out what went wrong because the feedback itself was objective. It was direct, specific, and meant to help.
That is the situation. In many international workplaces, the issue is not whether the feedback is correct. The issue is how it lands and whether the other person feels they can still contribute after they receive it.
People often talk about saving face there. It is not about avoiding the truth. It is about sharing it in a way that the other person can actually hear.
Most people do not realize that how something is said carries as much weight as what is being said. When feedback is delivered too directly, especially in front of others, or without noting what the person did well, it can change the focus of the meeting, and people might look at past details rather than the future solution.
Exactly. That takes the attention away from the project goals and causes unnecessary delays.
So the goal is to be transparent and clear. The goal is to share information in a way that keeps the other person present and able to respond. Those are two different things.
True. And once you see that difference, the whole conversation changes. Let us look at what that sounds like in practice. Picture this. A colleague has just submitted a project update, and there are a few things that need to change before it goes to the client. This is a one-on-one conversation.
Hey, do you have a few minutes? I want to talk through the update before it goes out.
Of course. Is everything okay?
Yes, mostly. There is a lot here that works well. The structure is clear and the data is presented well. I do want to note two things that I think we should adjust before the client sees it. One is the timeline on page 3. The numbers do not match what we agreed on in the last meeting, and I want to make sure we are on the same page. The other is the summary at the end. Right now, it leaves a few things open that the client will likely ask about, and I think we can close those gaps before we send.
Okay, I see what you mean about the timeline. I can fix that today. For the summary, can you tell me which parts seem unclear to you? I want to make sure I understand what you are looking for.
Of course. Let me show you what I mean. It'll be quicker than explaining it. And honestly, once those two things are fixed, I think this is ready to go. The work itself is good.
That helps. I will get it done this afternoon.
Let us look at the specific phrases that made this conversation work so well.
First, I do want to note two things that I think we should adjust. The word adjust does a lot of quiet work there. It is not saying this is wrong. It means here is something we can make better. Small change, very different feeling.
Second, I want to make sure we are on the same page. This connects the feedback to a shared outcome. You are protecting something you are both responsible for, which is a much easier position for someone to receive.
Third, can you tell me which parts seem unclear to you? This invites them into the solution. People who feel included in the process are far more likely to cooperate and remember the conversation as a productive one.
And the last one, the work itself is good. This is a meaningful statement. Closing with something that reflects the whole effort tells the other person that you see more than just the items that needed adjustments. It closes the conversation on common ground, so both people can move forward together.
Before we close out, let us bring it all together. 3 situations, 3 approaches.
In situation 1, we looked at how a short, sincere opening at the start of a meeting can change the whole dynamic of a team. It gives people the signal that they are welcome to show up fully.
In situation 2, we talked about silence. Silence after a question is not always a problem. Your job is to hold the space, not fill it.
And in situation 3, feedback. The goal is to focus on development. We share information in a way that the other person can easily receive and act on, by being specific, connecting it to a shared outcome, and ending the discussion with a positive focus.
3 skills you can use in your next meeting, right now.
If you want to manage workplace silence better or deliver feedback with better results, leave a comment below. We reply to all of them.
If you found this helpful, sharing it with a colleague is a great way to support your team's communication. You can also subscribe to join our weekly business conversations.
We will see you in the next one. Take care.